Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, an entitled woman insisted my 10-year-old disabled daughter is not allowed to enter a public park because of her disability. She claimed to be a police officer, and when we tried to go in anyway, she assaulted me. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the stories. I am the mother of a daughter with disabilities and have been spending most of her life fighting on her behalf. I learned a lot, and one of the main things I learned is to never let myself be pushed around to do what might be easier but not in the best interest of my child. My daughter is 10 years old and has both autism and is also paralyzed and in a wheelchair. You can imagine I got told many times when she was younger that I should just give up or put her in some kind of home. By the age of 10, you can imagine, I have no tolerance for people telling me what to do. One of her favorite things is to go to the park when it is nice outside and go on the swings. I am extremely lucky because my local park has an area that has swings made for kids with disabilities. Some are able to hook a wheelchair and swing, while others have extra safety measures like a bar or a bag to them. Anyway, we did not even get to the swings before I ran into a problem with a woman that I had never seen before in my life. She stepped right in front of me so that I could not get any further into the park. "Karen, you cannot be here." Me, "Excuse me? I have every right to come to the park." Karen, "Well, I mean, you can come into the park, but you cannot bring that in with you." I have no idea why, but Karen seemed to want to dehumanize my daughter by referring to her almost like a thing. Already I knew that I was dealing with a piece of crap human being. Me, "She can go into the park just like everybody else." Karen, "This park is meant for normal children, not diseased ones." Me, "She is not diseased and you are way out of line right now. I could call the police on you for discriminating against her." Karen, "People like them are a public disgrace and should not even be in this neighborhood, let alone the park. Keep it locked away indoors instead of forcing the rest of us to see that and think that it's normal. If you don't leave right now, I'm going to arrest you." She flashed a badge that said police on it but looked a little off. I was not buying it for 1 second that she was a real officer, and if she was, then she was way out of line. I even tried to tell her that if my daughter was not allowed in the park, they would not have special equipment for disabled children so they can play too. She just kept saying that she could not let my daughter in because it would scare other children and she was a public menace. And yeah, I guess Karen is right. Karen indeed is a public menace. Anyway, I was furious at this point and decided, screw it, she is not going to stop me. If she wanted to get in my way, she was going to end up getting hit by a pretty heavy-duty wheelchair. Turns out sometimes these nasty people really are crazy. Karen, "I want you." I felt something jolt through my body, and at first I did not even know what was happening. I was on the ground and could see a probe sticking out of me with a wire connecting all the way back to Karen. It was a effing taser. She clearly did not have any training in how to use it though, because only one prong hit me, so I was lucky that I wasn't too hurt from it. Police are the only people legally allowed in this state to have tasers, and even then, how and when they can use them are extremely controlled environments. A woman walking into a park would never be the cause for using one, even if she was a police officer. We were barely in the park, but it was enough for other people to come running to see what happened, especially after she tased me. Some had actually been watching since the start and pulled out their phones to record. My daughter was in some distress from all the excitement, but I was having trouble getting back on my feet. Luckily, since we are regulars, some other parents know us and are close enough to my daughter to help calm her down a little bit. Plus, some other kids are friendly with her and distracted her from what was going on. No less than 5 people put themselves between Karen and me while we waited for the actual police to show up on the scene. I had EMS looking me over and making sure I was fine with the police, talk to people to try and get the story of what was going on. I could not hear much, but I saw people showing police the video on their phones. I could also hear Karen screaming at the police for not knowing who she was and claiming that she was the community police and her job was to keep the place safe. I also heard the police officer ask her a question that he knew she was not going to look good answering. "Officer, what about them was not safe? Did they have a weapon? A bomb? Or threaten to hurt other people?" Karen, "Well, no, but I mean just look at them. She was going to walk in the park like that and it was disgusting." Who knows what my kids could catch if they went near it or even tried to play with it. Officer: okay, well, we saw the footage of what happened and there are some serious issues here. First of all, even if you are part of some community safety program, you cannot claim that you're police, and having the fake badge alone is a serious crime. That plus having an illegal weapon and firing it to assault a woman is another big one. You need to put your hands behind your back, ma'am. I zoned out as they took her away and read her rights while another officer came up to me. They explained that the stuff she did was illegal, but I could also personally sue her for attacking me and discriminating against my daughter. I know most of you reading hoped that I would have said yes and sued her to get a ton of money or something. The thing is, that's a legal process and it takes a lot of time, energy and focus. I would rather let the legal system handle her and use my resources on my daughter. I was exhausted and wanted to go home, but did not want my daughter to be punished for something she did not do. She went on the swings, and while arrested and other people she knew and trusted helped push her. I don't know if Karen expected me to just buckle and walk away with my daughter, but I would never do that. She is not a thing and she is not a disease, she is a person. She is also a child that deserves to do things other kids can, and if you try and tell me that she cannot, I'm gonna fight tooth and nail. If I had to fight that woman knowing I would get tased, I would have done the exact same thing again. I have not seen Karen since and can only hope that she is rotting in a cell somewhere after trying to pull a stunt like that. And the next one is titled Mortgage Revenge. A mortgage lender snubbed me, so I snubbed him back. A few years ago when I was buying a house, I went to several lenders to get the best deal and rate. I have a credit score in the 800s and quite a bit saved, so I'm getting good offers. I had also set up a spreadsheet to compare offers and calculate which would best suit my needs. Most lenders were happy to describe interest rates, points, etc., so I could do my calculations. Most offers were very similar. According to my math, my shopping around would only save me a few $100s over the life of the loan. And that's fine by me. Doing the math to verify things has value. However, one lender I called had this frustratingly rude representative. He is from a company I will call Slicken Loans. And our conversation went something like this. What do you want out of your loan? He asks. I have answered this question like 10 times for other lenders, so I start to explain. I want the best rate and to save money in the long term. Well, you're a pretty standard first-time home buyer. You're gonna need to make yourself stand out as a borrower. I'm sorry, what? Everybody wants the best rate, he says. It's the first thing anyone asks for, no kidding. That's just basic. We've got tons of people asking for loans. What is gonna make you stand out? Just tell me your rate, I say. I have to give him some info for him to calculate it. Then he gives me a number that's 0.1% higher than the other offers I've gotten that would cost about 15k in the long run after adjusting for inflation. There is now literally zero chance I will go with Slicken Loans. I thank him and end the call. And well, I went with a different lender. We were moving fast, so within 2 weeks I've gotten approved for my loan and I'm just waiting to close on the house. Everything is all set to go when the Slicken Loan scumbag calls me back. So I'm calling you to get started on the loan we talked about, he says. Well, I went with a different lender, I say. What? Who? His voice has this quaver in it, like maybe he's lost the last 5 borrowers he's talked to and his performance review is coming up or something. Someone who gave me a better rate, of course. I have no interest in giving him details. Well, you know, we can flex on the rate. Can you? That's unfortunate, I reply. And then my petty revenge. You really should have done more to make yourself stand out as a lender. He sputters about trying to match the other offer and I tell him to pound sand. Edit. My credit was only in the 800s, not the 830s. Consensus seems to be that you should not tell any sort of info about competitors to someone from who you will make a big purchase. Slicken Loans is awful. Many mortgage lenders will try to pull a fast one on you. The next one is titled Revenge with a Car. So I posted this in petty revenge, but it was apparently too extreme to be there. What my friend does goes way above and beyond the original offense, so it is actually pro-revenge done in a really petty way. Anyway, now to the story. I live in the desert part of the US and during a few months in the summer, it's consistently over 110 degrees, aka 43 degrees for my European bros. I was borrowing my friend's car for a quick drive because mine was at the shop. He asked me to park it in the shade, but I could not find a shady spot, so I just couldn't. So when he went to use his car, it was burning hot inside. He went to me and asked why I did not park it in the shade, and I told him I could not find any. He told me I would regret it and I thought he was joking. He then offered to pick up my car from the shop. I said yes because I thought he was just going to park it in the sun for a one-time revenge. So I drive a Prius and it uses automatic keys that open it when you go near it, and this will be important later. Well, anyway, he parks my car in the sun like I expected and gives back my keys. I expected this to be the end, but no, the next day I went to work and parked in my normal spot in the shade. One of the only shady spots there. After that I walked into work and proceeded as normal. Later I went to find my car during lunch only to see it 3 spots over in the sun. I thought that it was weird because I remember parking in my normal spot, but maybe I'm just tired and someone was already there in the spot and I'm having a memory lapse. Either way, my car being in the sun was burning hot. This continues to happen for like 10 more days until I finally convince myself that I'm not crazy. I start thinking, who the F is moving my car? No one has a key but me. And then I remember my friend and what he said. He had to be the one doing this. I talk to him and he smiles. Apparently, when he went to pick up my car, he got a new automatic key made for $300 and has been moving my car 2 or 3 spots over every day into the sun. Well, let's just say, it did not stop after that, but instead he did it more. From my apartment to work, he made it his life's duty that summer to make my driving miserable. Also, if you are reading this name redacted, you know who you are, F you. Additional info for anyone who thinks it is fake because he could not get the key copied that easily. I had my title and registration in the car. I don't do that anymore because people have made me aware about how dumb that is. I would never take it out because I would lose it. He also had my driver's license, so the shop would let him pick up the car. I asked him and he said the people who made the key just asked for the registration and title and never even asked for the driver's license even though he had it. Also, he has stopped and given me back the key because it's winter now. This story is a few months old and he said that one summer was enough pain for my sin. And the next one is titled Revenge on Car Karen. This happened just a few hours ago. I was driving a semi on a highway when the traffic suddenly became bumper to bumper on a 2-lane due to an accident a couple miles ahead. Everybody was creeping and I was at the right lane. Suddenly I saw a regular vehicle, not even an emergency vehicle, on my right side shoulder lane passing me. There is not even an exit nearby. I was like, hell to the no, and as soon as I saw a couple vehicles behind me trying to do the same thing, I immediately blocked them by going slightly to the shoulder, so I am occupying 2 lanes. I got a few honks, but I could not care less. If I'm suffering in a traffic jam, everyone should too as well. Shoulder is not for passing. As long as I didn't see any flashing lights behind me, I'm not opening that shoulder. We are crawling anyway, and after a few 100 feet ahead, I saw an idle police cruiser on the shoulder up ahead. I figured that nobody would dare using the shoulder anymore, so I merged back to my lane. It turns out I was right, the shoulder became empty all of a sudden, but that's not the end. While I was chilling, still creeping, I heard a very annoying and repetitive honk on my left side. I looked and I saw this lady with huge sunglasses, ponytail, bending down on her seat looking at me, yelling something, looking outraged. I rolled down and this is the following conversation. Karen, you know you're blocking 2 lanes, right? Me, confusion. Huh? Karen, I was behind you on the right lane and you wouldn't move. I honked and you didn't care. Me, that's called a shoulder. You're not supposed to drive on the shoulder. Karen, that's a lane. You're allowed to drive there. While she is still yelling incoherently, we are still slowly moving, and then I remembered there's an idle police cruiser on the shoulder that I saw a while back that we didn't pass yet. I'm sure everyone knows by now. Malicious compliance initiated. I reduced my speed even more so Karen is faster than me by a little bit on the left lane, then I dare her by giving her the signal that she can pass me to use the shoulder. She aggressively took it, cut in front of me and immediately went to the shoulder. However, what Karen did not know was that the cruiser is already around the corner. I was driving a semi, so my field of vision is much higher and wider than everyone else. Karen was driving a sedan, her field of vision is much lower and limited in comparison. What I did not take into account was how aggressive Karen was driving. She cut the corner so quick without looking and ended up hitting the cruiser. Sorry, officer. It was so abrupt that I could hear the crash pretty loudly. I can also tell that the driver in front of me was gasping in shock as well. I've never seen an officer got out of the cruiser so fast before. This dude practically jumped out of the cruiser in less than 1 second. And then this is what I witnessed and heard when I'm creeping slowly with the traffic. Not wanting to miss anything, I rolled down my passenger window. Officer, get out of the vehicle! Karen still inside the car, full fluster mode. Officer, get out now! Karen finally gets out and literally word per word, But it was not my fault. You were stopping on a lane. Officer, this is a shoulder for emergency, not for your convenience to escape a traffic jam. Karen, but, incoherent sob story as I drove away from the scene. I could not hear what's going on anymore, but I kept watching my front as well as the side mirror. Judging from her body movement, she was indeed panicking while pointing at my truck. I don't know why. And then, before the scene disappeared from my mirror, the last thing I saw was the officer pulled out his handcuffs and cuffed Karen. Surprisingly, she complied without causing any more scenes. Then I continued to drive into the sunset. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you enjoy these road rage stories, which I always find fascinating, please feel free to like the video because I would very much appreciate this. In addition, if you have your own road rage stories, aka you experiencing it, not you participating in it, then feel free to share your story in the comments or on r/ripestories on Reddit. The next one is titled Textbook Malicious Compliance. So, my husband is a veteran, 100% disabled, so all of his care is through the VA. And guys, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think VA means Veteran Affairs. I would like to point out that we are very happy with his care currently and that he is getting excellent care now, but that was not always the case. My husband had an aneurysm, abdominal aortic aneurysm to be exact, and the VA was going to fix it because it was large and it had a 25% chance of breaking on any given day, which would mean I would lose my husband, so I was very invested in making sure this took place. We live in Middle America, so the hospital where they are doing the procedure is 200 miles away. We have to stay there while he is in hospital, so we decided to send my son to my mom in order to keep him out of the area while dad is recouping. While we are at the airport sending my son off, we get a call from the hospital that the surgery is cancelled because a machine broke. So we head back to the hospital and I asked the nurse when we could expect to be rescheduled, and she said that it could be a couple of months. I explained, I was actually nice about it, that we needed to have it done before a couple of months and was there no other VA facility in the area that could do the surgery, and this is what I was told.
If you people would talk to your congressman about funding, you people wouldn't have to deal with these things. But because you people think we owe you, you people need to get a grip. If you have a problem, call your congressman.
So, being a good army spouse I did, we walked out of the hospital and I called them directly. Told them what was going on, they called the head of the VA for the district, who called the head of the VA hospital we were at, who called the nurse, who got fired. He had the surgery a week later at a well-known medical center, not VA, and all was well. Afterwards, the head of the VA called me to ask why I couldn't have handled this in-house. I explained that I was a good military wife and did what I was told to by someone higher up. And indeed, Ripe Stars, that is really textbook malicious compliance. However, I would love to hear from you. Do you prefer malicious compliance or revenge stories? Let me know what you prefer in the comments.